every single one of you watching. I've got a really special treat again for you today. I feel like I sort of say that quite a lot on this channel, but obviously it's through a lot of research and interesting stuff I found today, which I'm going to share with you. Today, okay, hear me out before you judge. We're here to explore another shooting range, and we're in Kent today. And we're in Conyers Tenham, and affectionately this one actually was called the Butts. I want you to stay along with me. We're gonna not have a history lesson traditional sense, we're gonna have a history lesson in the old sense. I'll talk you through it, because trust me when I say this, it's no ordinary rifle range, this one, because the history records tell us actually something a little bit more interesting about this one. Have I got you intrigued? I hope so. Please stay along with me. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. Look what we found. Is another rifle range, but oh God, I'm going to keep saying "but," aren't I? Referring to rifle butts. But this one has a really interesting story, unlike probably all the others that I've actually explored, because we'll get this out of the way first. Originally, there were two lengths or two rifle ranges parallel to each other. The other one is pretty much adjacent to this, but it would have actually been closer to the top of the hill, or the sea defence actually. And it's when you look through historical records, there's a really interesting government article that basically tells you that what had happened was that originally there was one, as there would be with anything really, and that original one isn't this one. It's actually the one that would have been over there. When you read through the records, this is the bit that I really enjoy once you do some really cool research. On that one, they got rid of it because it was prone. Can you guess what it was prone to? Flooding. There you go. It's prone to flooding, which ironically even this one is. So when you look for the old maps, the idea is that we know that we don't have an exact date that I can find, but we know that it was 20th century, and the idea then was that it was about 700 yards distance on this one, and then you had about intervals of about 150 yards interspersed. And actually, obviously when we look at our old maps, it tells us where each thing was, but I like the fact that there is a map, which I'll show you now, which definitely delineates the two separate rifle ranges at one point, and it does sort of say formerly disused, and that's because historical records would tell us that that was because of the fact that it was prone to flooding more than this one. Can you believe? So this was, like I said, affectionately known as the Butts. The Butts. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. Had to put that in there as well. There we go. And yeah, like I said, it's about 700 yards and about 100 yards. I'm not sure if I said about 150, 100 yards each. And like I said, the only thing that really gives us some clues on this was at one point it was MOD, and you can understand why. because we're literally in the middle of nowhere. Like I said, we're in Konya, Tyneham, Tenham, however you want to refer to it as. But this is really all that survives. And depending on how many videos you've seen of mine, you'll be quite impressed by this. So it is, for all intents and purposes, just the final 700-yarder one. So actually, in essence, we know that down that range, roughly about 700 yards, and it's really weird, you can't see any of it now, but there would have been about 100-yard interval ones. Depends on, when you look at Google Maps, how prominent that stands. And there's two outbuildings down the bottom there that are interesting in their own right. But this is the main thing. So there would have been flags to obviously tell you when it was safe to fire. And this is the footpath. So this would have still been part of people's crossing route at one point. And obviously, I don't know if you know, but Konya, this area is very famous for smuggling in Kent, because we're sort of just where the Swale is, and Sheppey's on the opposite side. And then we've got the former pub, the Ship and Smuggler, I think it's called, from memory. Went in there once, really nice pub, totally gutted, which I didn't know that it's shut, you know, which is really gutting, but there you go. So yeah, let's just take a brief look whilst we're here. I don't know how flooded that, well, it's alright. Didn't bring Wellingtons with me today. The fact that this still survives is wonderful. And of course, which I will do at a later date, we are in a very, very well-known area for explosives down the road. If we carried on going, we'd end up at Orr. And there's a few other explosive sort of outlets that we hear. Really, none of them hardly survive. I say none of them hardly survive, a few do, and I will do that for a separate video, not today, however. But there is also the word latrines. I think that says does that say latrines? L-A-T-R, latrines? I think that says latrines, you know. So can you see that in the camera, everybody? I think that says latrines. I could be wrong on that. But we know for our rifle ranges that sometimes you'd have toilets, sometimes you wouldn't. And then we've got to look also at the fact that you can still see remnants of benches. These ones weren't wooden, clearly, because they've got metal stools on them. Some interesting writing. 8, 7, 6. So numbered. Again, very stereotypical of your rifle ranges in terms of what this looks like. Again, more than likely probably would have been flags at either corner, red to obviously delineate firing, and then really all the ammunition, all the firing would have just basically gone out into the swale if it did go overhead, if at all. But like I said, what I love about this one is that there was two, and that, like I said, if you look in the government records, they were worried that, I think this was right, so I don't want to be misquoted, but from what I felt, from what I'd read, they were worried that there was obviously times when it could be flooded, and like I said, even on a day like today, beautiful sunshine, summer is just about upon us, it's still very wet in this marshy bogland. I mean, do you know what, if you're out here, I mean, there's better places to be, I think. Interesting what that is, have no idea on that. Could be like a marker board or something, but we can see, look, every interval, these probably would have been little like rivets for benches. So obviously if my hand was representing a bench, and then our rifle butts somewhere along here, weirdly enough, which you wouldn't know at all anymore. And what's happened is, obviously when it came out of use, the farmer obviously decided, as we can see now, to use this for sheep. And believe it or not, the lambs are out today, and I've got hay fever. Yay! I wonder when that was going to kick in. Sorry about that, everybody. ASMR for you, me sneezing. Yes, even the sheep find that funny. That I've just seen somebody with a bike literally having to negotiate the sheep on that path. That is a public footpath. We've come off of it. We've been a little bit cheeky, so forgive me, landowner and stuff like this. Obviously, you know I love nature. I'm not here to ruin any sort of nature if possible, but you know we're just literally off the beaten track here. So, but yeah, wonderful. So obviously, if you didn't know, the bullets would be coming across this way, rifle butts up like this, and then shooting. But like I said, it was weird because this one was actually called the Butts. So, you know, using originality there, going further down. We know that obviously this one is sort of at this angle, which actually is weird because it doesn't feel like it when on the map. It feels like it should be sort of that way, but actually no, it is this way. And then the older one, actually there is some concrete remnants, and those concrete remnants are more than likely that last one. But the 700-yarder one, I felt, actually went up a little bit further. So that was probably the concrete they've knocked down, hit down onto that. And then, yeah, interesting really. But yeah, all the way down range, 700 yards. Incredible, really. Do you know what? Even though it's windy, it is a beautiful day today. Beautiful day. Clouds, as you can sort of see. I'm obviously in shadow because I can't, this camera just doesn't like light really. But yeah, look at this. They've reinforced this one, interestingly enough. So I'm assuming that, well, we know, so historical records would tell us, although there's not much information, this was the more modern of the two. So by definition, if it was going to be more modern, you want to reinforce it because the weapons that you'd be using would have been more substantial, and a tiny sort of bulletproof standard concrete wall, if it was being hit, although there would be mounds of dirt and stuff as well, so let's put that into the equation. You know, you're going to be relatively safe. But it's interesting how, because this one's the more modern one, you can see they've reinforced this, which I've never seen on any of the others. And I think that's probably because it's I would say, well no, it's not actually the newest one I've ever been to. There was obviously that one in, I say obviously, I know it's out on the channel now, but one in Sussex, which was actually used, it's the oldest one I've ever been to, and it was actually the longest one in use. But that was, again, that was because that was in a ditch, so it was, the ground level was over there, so actually it was mounds and mounds of earth, so it didn't really matter. But on this one, you're so exposed, there's nothing else here. Remarkable. Brilliant, brilliant. Is that some drainage? I do believe. Well, there was a former little drain pipe there as well, just in case. Wonderful piece of history, it really is. Oh, look, there you go. I swear that was a cyclist who came through. He got to negotiate himself round. Oh, beautiful day. Very cool. Well everybody, I think we should head out because I think we've covered it. I think we've sort of spoken about the nice bits of history, and the wind seems to be turning a little bit. Let's head out, come on. Okay everybody, before I go, I just wanted to show you something which hopefully you might be able to see. If I lay my finger of doom there, there's another rifle butt. There's another one that's, well, the ranges basically are there's another one behind it, and it's pointing towards the concrete building at the back. Now as you can see, there's no possible way of getting there because all the sheep and the lambs are out. I don't really want to disturb any more wildlife than needed to. I mean, like I said, on this occasion I literally just skipped the fence and I'm there, and obviously this is a footpath, so all the sheep and beautiful little lammies are here. So yeah, I didn't really want to cause any excess, but you can see the ranges from this side, and then that concrete down there is what I sort of showed you. Probably one of the final ones that would have come up here, and then there was our newer one over there. Just thought I'd in with that nice bit of history. Right, let's go. Well, in the immortal words of Phoenix history, thank you so much for coming along with me. As you can hear, the wind has properly picked up now, and that's because we're more exposed, obviously, as you would be aware. Really means a lot for all your support out there, and it really motivates me more to keep doing it. So every person that subscribes, every like that I get, you know, it just motivates me to keep finding some more interesting and unusual stuff for you. Stuff out of the norm, stuff that's really historically interesting. I'm sorry that we didn't, I suppose technically we did 90% of this. We talked about the where we saw the ranges. We obviously covered the rifle butt thing. Like I said, I think the only thing that's probably missing is that building, although actually I'm assuming it's part of it, but it doesn't actually say on the records that it was. And obviously because we're in farmland, there is another building over there that's suspiciously like a farm building, so who knows on that one. We will leave that out in the air, but the fact of the matter is I just don't want to walk in a field of sheep and lambs, as you probably would know. Anyway, in the immortal words of Phoenix history, thank you so much for coming along with me. Take care, everybody. We will do some more along this stretch of coast at some point soon. Today, however, I've got a very busy day and I just can't do much more walking, unfortunately. So I'm going to head back to the car. Take care, everybody. Much love to all of you out there, and I'll of course see you all very soon. Ready? Cut, pal.